Hey everybody, as promised, over the course of the next few minutes I'm going to attempt to fumble through a very poorly worded explanation of the Leaf AFI camera system. As I imagine a number of you are coming from the 35mm world and may not have experience with or knowledge of medium format systems in general, a number of the features that are found within the Leaf AFI system are fairly commonplace, but there are a few unique ones. First and foremost, in terms of being commonplace, would be that the system is entirely modular. In addition to having a lens and a body, you also have various viewfinders and backs that can be swapped in and out in accordance to your preference, needs, and or budget. I currently have, this is the standard 80mm lens. This is going to give you a 50mm field of view in in 35mm. This is the camera body itself. Currently fixed is the waist level viewfinder, and this is where the back starts. I will address that in a second. With regard to the viewfinder, the waist level is exactly what you'd expect. It offers a top-down reverse perspective, which I personally find incredibly difficult and frustrating to use because I lack the coordination required. So I normally use this just for transportation. And then swap it out with the 45-degree viewfinder. And that just drops into place like so. There we go. And the nice thing about the Leaf system is that there's a handle on the side that will actually rotate into various positions to accommodate whichever viewfinder you're using. This is the default grip for the waist level viewfinder. There's a little button underneath that you can depress, and that will allow you to take it into the 45 orientation, or this is the 90-degree viewfinder. I think they have a special name for it, which I'm not entirely sure of. And then this will be the 90-degree viewfinder orientation. I'm just going to swap everything back around. And there you go, and you can see how this, if you're using it top down, would be a much more ergonomically comfortable position. I acknowledge the redundancy in that last statement, and I apologize. Okay, moving a little further back, this is the 4560 film back. It's in an adapter right now. You can actually pull it straight out and rotate it. I believe it goes this way, and that would be how you change the orientation. Not ideal, but they have addressed that in the digital back. So I'm just going to leave that in there. The 4560, as you probably guessed, will give you a 4.5 by 6 centimeter negative. There's also a 6060 back, which will give you a 6 by 6 square negative. Right, off with that. I normally struggle with this, but that came off surprisingly easy this time, which is fantastic. So we'll move this part. I presently own the Leaf AFI. Actually, I think this is the Aptus 2 7. The 7 is 33 megapixels. There is also a 5, a 6, a 10, and a 12. And they are 22, 28, 56, and 80 megapixels respectively. The nice thing about this digital back in particular, and it is exclusive to the Leaf AFI series of digital backs, at least the 7, the 10, and the 12 R editions, is that it has a rotating sensor. So it makes the transition between horizontal and landscape a great deal less painful even, awkward, and that's indicated on the side. Another unique thing to the Leaf AFI is the fact that this actually rotates up tilts up, because a lot of people will be using the waist level viewfinder, not me. But this allows you to view everything from top down without having to bring the camera up or off the tripod or lean down to get a better perspective. Leaf in general, I don't know of any that aren't but Leaf has always been entirely touchscreen. The resolution of this back is absolutely shocking, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, which is why so many people that are using medium format tend to shoot tethered, because it's just, as far as reviewing goes, it's not an ideal system until you move into the current generation of Credo from Leaf, the IQ series from Phase 1, which are very, very similar in terms of interface and resolution to using the Retina display on an iPhone or an iPad. That pretty much touches everything that I wanted to cover initially. Just to go over a few of the other functions. You'll notice that the hot shoe is actually mounted on the side of the camera. And then you have your different autofocus modes. You've got off. This is single frame, and then you have multiple frames. This will do an astounding, with this back, 1.1 frames a second. Breathtaking, I know. Then you have your different auto exposure modes, your different metering. So everything that you would expect to find in a normal 35mm SLR. And then with regard to the grip itself, there's a little LCD on top, which I kind of touched on in my explanation on Reddit. You have a trigger, which is your shutter release, a wheel here, and a wheel here. These will control your aperture and shutters settings, and then you have mirror lockups and various other functions. Just to illustrate the histogram that I mentioned on Reddit, right now I've got a Profoto air trigger, so I'm just going to fire this up, and then wait for the back to turn on. There we go. And so if you look, you'll actually see that when you're using the digital back, the histogram is displayed for that exposure. So that's exciting. Anyway, I apologize that it took this long and it was this poorly presented, but such is life.